ਜੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ will just start with a ਮੰਗਲਾ ਚਰਨ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅੱਗੇ ਪਰ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। Let's join in. If everyone can close their eyes and ਆਪਣੇ ਮਨ ਬਿਰਤੀ ਇਕਾਗਰ ਕਰੋ ਜੀ। ਸਤਨਾਮ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ। ਇੱਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦ ਜਪੁ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਭੀ ਸੱਚ ਚੱਕਰ ਚਿਹਨ ਅਰ ਬਰਨ ਜਾਤ ਅਰ ਪਾਂਤ ਨਹਿਨ ਜਹ ਰੂਪ ਰੰਗ ਅਰ ਰੇਖ ਭੇਖ ਕੋ ਕਹਿ ਨ ਸਕਤ ਕੇਹ ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਨਭਉ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਅਮਿਤ ਤੋਜ ਕਹਿਜੈ ਕੋਟ ਇੰਦਰ ਇੰਦਰਾਨ ਸਾਹੇ ਸਹਾਨ ਗਣਿਜੈ ਤੇਰੇ ਭਵ ਮਹੀਪ ਸੁਨਰ ਅਸੁਰ ਨੇਤ ਨੇਤ ਬੰਧਨ ਕਹਿਤ ਤੋਐ ਸਰਬ ਨਾਮ ਕਥੈ ਕਵਨ ਕਰਮ ਨਾਮ ਬਰਨਤ ਸਮਤ ਤੋਐ ਸਰਬ ਨਾਮ ਕਥੈ ਕਵਨ ਕਰਮ ਨਾਮ ਬਰਨਤ ਸਮਤ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਧੰਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਲਗੀਧਰ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬੇਅੰਤ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ ਜਾਪ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਲੜੀਵਾਰ ਕਥਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਵੇਸ਼ ਹੋਏ ਹਾਂ। We're very blessed to be joining into the Sadh Sangat and listening to the virtual Katha of Jaap Sahib. ਜਾਪ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਐਸੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਸਹੰਸਰ ਨਾਮ ਮਾਲਾ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸਹੰਸਰ ਨਾਮ ਮਾਲਾ। Sahansar means 1,000. This Bani is a Bani that has over 1,000 names for Paramatma. ਤੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ right now we're on the Chapai Chand Podi, the first Podi of Jaap Sahib. ਪਰ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਿਓ ਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਉਦੋਂ the ਵਿਆਖਿਆ of their own Bani as in what they're about to write, why they're about to write it as well. Sahansar Naam Mala. In Jaap Sahib, there's over 1,000 names for Paramatma. Different names come. And this essentially is a mala, a rosaries of the names of Parmeshwar. ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਸਹੰਸਰ ਨਾਮ ਮਾਲਾ ਵੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ. We call this Bani a naam mala, a rosary of thousands of names for Paramatma. Last time we left off on the Pankti Achal Murat Anubhav Prakash. We talked about Achal Murat in Vistar. We said that Murti of Parameshwar Vaheguru Ji is Achal. We said Chal means that is moving, that is always running. What is moving, what is always running is time. What is time? Time is death. Because Punjabi which we have one word for time and one word for death. Kaal. Sama ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਮੌਤ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਕਾਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ. For example, we might say Pavik Kaal, future time. Bhutman Kaal, past time. Vartaman Kaal, present time. And we also say Kaal aa gayi hai, maut aa gayi hai. Why? Because anything that's within the hands of time is essentially it's definitely inside the hands of death. ਪਰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੂਰਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਚਲ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਚਲਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਈ। ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ ਚੱਲੀ ਗਈ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਮੌਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਗਈ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਚਲ ਹੋ, ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਚਲ ਹੋ। ਯੂ ਆਰ ਆਊਟਸਾਈਡ ਦ ਹੈਂਡਸ ਆਫ ਦਿਸ ਚਲਾਇਆਮਾਨ ਸੰਸਾਰ। Just like a movie, if you look in the old days, movies were called moving pictures. Why? Because a movie is just a collection of pictures that are moving at a very intense speed. For example, you have 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second. Frames are pictures. So per second, you have 60 pictures that are clicking through. And when you sit down and watch that, it's a movie. Guru Sahib, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Maharaj gives us an example of the sansar being chal, moving. They say, "Jyo supana ar pekhana, aise jag ko jaan." ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਗਤ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਪੇਖਣਾ ਹੈ ਪੇਖਣਾ what does ਪੇਖਣਾ mean we say ਆਪਾਂ ਵੇਖਣ ਚੱਲਨੇ ਹਾਂ ਵੇਖਣਾ to means to see ਪੇਖਣਾ meaning a movie a script a play something you see something that's being acted out and you see with your eyes ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੇਖਣਾ we're doing the translation of achal we're doing the katha of achal ਪੇਖਣਾ ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖੀਦਾ a movie a script what is a movie movie is a collection of pictures that are moving the word movie means moving if it were to stop then the movie we would say is broken we would not watch that movie if the movie were to stop at a picture then the movie is not working anymore Guru says Maharaj your murat is achal murat your roop murat means your roop your form it's achal this sansar is moving ਜਿਉਂ ਸੁਪਨਾ ਅਰ ਪੇਖਣਾ ਐਸੇ ਜਗ ਕੋ ਜਾਨ ਇਸ ਜਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਐਸੇ ਜਾਣੋ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ ਪੇਖਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ as if it's a moving picture ਇਨ ਮੈਂ ਕਛ ਸਾਚੋ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਾਨਕ ਬਿਨ ਭਗਵਾਨ the moving picture is not such it's not such because the moving picture will one day end the moment you step into the movie theaters we know that movie will only last for 2.5 hours 3 hours eventually it will stop when the movie stops we'll all go home we know that we step into the movie theater in that awareness but when we look at the sansar we don't have that awareness we don't step into this world thinking yes I'm only here to watch this movie of life and I'll leave when it's over we step into this life thinking this is it this is everything there's nothing outside of this ਉਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ lack of an awareness that lack of awareness is called agyanta that lack of awareness is called agyanata gyan means you have that awareness of knowing that this sansar is a movie you're watching agyanta is that you do not know you're watching a movie you believe you are the actor and you believe you are the actor and the actor is not temporary Guru Sahib Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj has written a bani called Bachittar Natik. Natik. What does Natik mean? Movie means moving picture. What does Natik mean? Natik. Not tikken wali cheez. Tik means still, stable. Natik means jo cheez nahi tikti. That thing that is not stable. A movie is not stable. It's moving pictures. It's gonna keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. In that same way, a natik is moving, moving, moving. So in English you say movie. In Punjabi or Hindi you'll say natik. Guru Sahib says, मैं हो परम पुरख को दासा देखन आयो जगत तमाशा मैं परम पुरख दा दास हाँ I am the das I am the servant of Paramatma Vaheguru देखन आयो जगत तमाशा I'm here to see the tamasha of the jagat I'm here to see the natik of the world Bachittar natik I'm here to see the I'm here to see the wonderful natik of the world जो चीज ना टिकन वाली है अचल means टिकन वाली चल means ना टिकन वाली we're looking at the word achal murat ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੂਰਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੂਪ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਚਲ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਉਹ ਚੱਲਣ ਵਾਲਾ। ਤੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ is ਨਾ ਟਿਕਣ ਵਾਲਾ, ਮਾਰੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਚਲ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਿਕਣ ਵਾਲੇ ਹੋ। The sansar will leave one day, the movie will end one day, the actors will stop acting one day, but Maharaj, you will never ever stop moving. You will never you will never leave, you will always be there. ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅਸਥਿਤ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟਿਕੇ ਹੋਏ ਹੋ। ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ। ਨਾਨਕ ਬਿਨ ਭਗਵਾਨ ਇਸ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ। There's nothing true about this movie besides Paramatma. Like that movie theater will stay even after the movie finishes. The movie theater will stay even if the new movie starts and that new movie ends. In the same way, Paramatma will stay even when this life ends and another life starts. Achal Murat. Now we said that lack of awareness, the lack of understanding, is called agyanta. The lack of understanding that we are watching a movie and these are just actors around us. The actor of a mom, the actor of a dad, the actor of a son, the actor of a daughter, the actor of a friend, the actor of a teacher. These are all just acts. Naik khasam hamare. Naik. Guru Sahib calls Parmeshwar Naik. Naik khasam hamare. What does Naik mean? Naik means the main hero of the movie. Naik. Where the whole movie revolves around the hero. We make our ego the hero of this movie. And that is a lack of understanding that this is a movie. Jion supna ar pekhna aise jag ko jaan. Guru Sahib gives us understanding that understand this jaan, this aise jag ko jaan, this jagat, this world is just a pekhna, it's just a movie you're watching. The main hero of this movie is Naik Khasam Hamare is Paramatma. Like in a movie, if you watch, there's always a main character, a main person who the whole movie revolves around. And that is Paramatma. We are meant to attune ourselves into Paramatma. That awareness then is called Anapo Prakash. That awareness of realizing कि ये सारा संसार ये चलायमान है, ये सारा संसार ना टिकन वाला है, ये सारा संसार जाएगा। जिਵੇਂ ਇੱਕ just like a movie film is rolling and rolling and rolling, just like a natik is ਨਾ ਟਿਕਣ ਵਾਲੀ ਚੀਜ਼, in that same way ਇਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਨਾ ਟਿਕਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ, ਖਤਮ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਹੈ, ਨਾਸਵੰਤ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੂਰਤੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਅਚਲ ਹੈ। That means the very fabrication of this world only exists because of Paramatma. People say, how do you know Paramatma exists? Because this world exists. This world cannot exist without Paramatma. This world is so temporary, it will keep changing and changing. Guru Sahib says that this creation has not happened one time, it has happened many times. Kei baar pasreo pasara. Kei baar, not one time, many times. Sada sada ek kankara. But there's only been one thing that's been stable. That's been one thing that's been throughout those timelines of creation, coming and going, coming and going. One thing that has been stable, one thing that has been achal, has been your murti, has been your form, Paramatma. It's been you. Sada sada ek kankara. Except there's just been that one ek kankar Paramatma that's been stable. So this was the achal murt. Now, that gyan of understanding Achal Murt is called Anpo Prakash. That awareness of understanding who is Paramatma is Anpo Prakash. Anapo Prakash. Anapo means Sutte Siddh. Anapo means something that doesn't come from outside. Anapo means something that comes from inside. I can tell you that Paramatma is inside you. But until you get that understanding from the inside, it won't be real. If it comes from the outside, it won't be real until it comes from the inside. A flower blooms from the inside out. A flower blooms from the inside out. How so? A seed. You have a seed. Does the flower come from outside the seed? No. The seed interacts with the soil interacts with water interacts with the sunlight. It fuels that seed to bloom. The flower blooms from inside that seed out. The flower doesn't drop from the sky. Yes, the sunlight comes from the sky. Yes, the water comes from the floor. Yes, just the mitti around it helps. But the flower itself has to bloom from the inside out. Yes, I can give you that water and tell you this is what Gurbani is saying. Yes, Gurbani is the sunlight that's just shining on you right now. Gurbani is Jagamin Chanan. Gurbani is that sunlight that's shining on the seed right now. But until that seed blooms from the inside out, it's not real. It's just book knowledge. मन तू जोत स्वरूप है अपना मूल पहचान मन हर जी तेरे नाल है हे मेरे मन तू अपना मूल पहचान ले Who are you? Where have you come from? बंदे खोज दिल हर रोज ना फिर परेशानी माहे हे बंदे ਆਪਣੇ ਦਿਲ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਹਿਰਦ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਹੀ ਖੋਜ ਇਹਦੀ ਖੋਜ ਨਾ ਕਰ open it up search within it until we don't do that contemplation until we don't do that vichar in our own self we won't bloom seva simran bhakti sad sangat everything's those resources will help us to bloom that blooming happens through good prasad inside out from the inside to the out anpo means what's from the inside anpo jo pichho aa ਰਿਹਾ अनपो मीन्स जो पिछो चीज आ रही है अग्गों नहीं आ रही पिछो आ रही है मन दे पिछे की है what's behind the man we know what's in front of the man you have in front of the mind you what you can call the antishkaran you can call the jivatma you can call the many different things the mind or the jivatma the antishkaran is a compilation of four things four main parts your man your chit your buddh your hankar these four then sit within your then you have your indri come next your karam indri your gyan indri then those then sit within this physical body. So after the mind is your indriya, after your indriya is your body and so on and so forth. But what's before your body is your indriya, what's before your indriya is your man, what's before the man? Your atma. Anpo prakash. What's coming from behind the atma is prakash. Anpo means from behind. Anpo means sutte gyan. जो चीज सुत्ते सिद्ध मिल रही है. Something that's not coming from the outside. Something that's coming from the inside. Something that's coming from behind the man. Something that's coming from behind the mind. That gyan, that realization, no one can take away from you. If you were to, so how does enlightenment happen? Enlightenment happens when the mind goes backwards. Right now, or the mind, or the antashkaram, or the spiritual body, the subtle body is focusing forward. Is focusing on this, on our indriya, is focusing on our feelings, is focusing on our body. It's going forward. The moment it goes backwards is when prakash will happen, is when enlightenment will happen. Anapo. Again, anapo means anapav, which means sutte siddh gyan. Jo picho aa raya. Sutte siddh means that you're not learning it from the outside, it's coming from the back end. That's why there's been a lot of gurmukhs out there that have not been literate, but they knew Kirtan. They've not been literate, but they knew how to read Bani. They'd not been literate, but they knew how to do Katha. How? Because they weren't learning it from the outside. They were getting it from the behind, from their soul. Because Bhagat Pipa says, Jo Brahmande soi pinde, Jo khoje so paye. Jo is Brahmand vich hai, all the knowledge in this universe, all the knowledge within every single fossil, in every single cell there is out there, every single DNA, all that knowledge, soi pinde. It's in your body right now. It's in your body right now. Imagine the whole of the cosmos, all the dimensions, all the universes, planets, suns, moons, life forms there are in this universe, in multi universes, are actually inside your body right now. Anpo. Accessing that is Anpo Prakash. Jo khoje so paye. Jo khojega, jeda hi khojega, wo palega. Guru di kirpa rahi, Gur Prasad rahi, Satgur Prasad rahi. That Murti that is Achal, that Murti, that Paramatma that is Achal, that Swarupa Paramatma that is never moving, that Swarupa Paramatma that is Asthit, that Swarupa Paramatma that is Abchal, you can realize that Paramatma, you can experience that Paramatma through going to Anpo Prakash, through going backwards, through Guru Sahib's Kirpa, Ura Prakash ho jayega. Through Guru Sahib's Kirpa, through Guru Sahib's Meher, Anubhav ਨਾਲ ਉਸ ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ. That is the transition of this ਪੰਕਤੀ. ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਨੁਭਵ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼. ਉਹ ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤੀ ਅਨੁਭਵ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਏਗਾ. You will be able to have the prakash of that achal murat through your anubhav. Amitoj kahijja. Amitoj kahijja. Kahijja means ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਦੇ ਗੁਣ ਕੀ ਹੈ. These are the guns of Paramatma. Before, when we were looking at the first two panktiyan, Chakar Chihin, Arbaranjat, Arpat Nahin Jiha, Roop Rang, Arrek Pe, Ko Keh Na Sakat Kiha. I know we're spending a lot of time on this because this is the foundation of Jaap Sahib. Just doing the Katha and Chapa Chand can take months if we were to go into it in very detailed. Why? Because this is the foundation of all of Jaap Sahib. Not just all of Jaap Sahib, but all of Dasam Gurbani, and not just all of Dasam Gurbani, but of Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj as well. This is the same Siddhant as the Mool Mantar. We talked about that last time. Okay, the Vyakhya of Mool Mantar is Jaap Sahib, is the Mool Mantar of Dasam Granth Sahib Ji. So it's karake, we're spending a lot of time on this, but it's just so that the philosophy sits in. And koi ho jaye, koi Gurumukh Katha karega, and this will just keep opening. It's never ending. Just by this Katha is not ending and sealing away the meanings of a Bani. No, Katha is just the start of experiencing the Bani. What is Katha? Katha is not ending and saying, okay, I'm signing away. This is a transition of this Bani. No. Katha is the beginning of your experience with that Gurbani. And will keep evolving and shaping and forming the more Katha you listen to. That's why in the Sikh Panth, we were not big on transitions and TK. We were not big on steaks. You will not find that many steaks and TK out there of all of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, all of Dasam Granth Sahib Ji. Why? Because the Panth did not agree that you can sign away one transition and call it the transition of that Gurbani. It was a need of the Panth to come together at the end of the 19th century and say, you know what, at the end of the 20th century and say, you know what, we need to start having our own Potiyan literature out there with transitions Gurbani so that no one can come there and say, you know what, Gurbani means this and that. There is a need for it. Kat, I don't want to stray off from the main point that we're on right now. The first two lines of this Chapa chant. Remember Chapa. Cha means six, Pa means panktiyan. This chant has six panktiyan to it. The first two lines of these six panktiyan, we're talking about that formless, that Nirankar Paramatma. That no one can say, Maharaj, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਰੂਪ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਰੰਗ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਰੇਖ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਭੇਖ ਕੀ ਹੈ. No one can say, Maharaj, ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਚੱਕਰ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਚਿਹਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਰਨ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਾਤ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪਾਤ ਕੀ ਹੈ. No one can say, no one can see these things because you're Nirankar, you're formless. Now that formless Paramatma, Guru Sahib is giving it a form and saying its form is Achal. That formless Paramatma is sitting within this form as Achal. That formless Paramatma is sitting within this creation as the Achala Murat. And that Achala Murati Prakash, to see that Achala Murat, Prakash means to see, to make it visible, comes through Anubhav, comes through Anupo. Amitoj Kahijja. When someone experiences that Paramatma, ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ? Kahijja means to say, to ਕਹਿਣਾ. What does he say? What does he or she say? What does that Jagyasu, what does that sadhu say? He says Amitoj. He says, Hey Paramatma, tu Amitoj ha, tu Amitoj ha. Amitoj. Now what does this word Amitoj means? Now I'm breaking up the word. I'm putting the add on the left side. I'm splitting away. So this word is a combination of three words. Okay? Amitoj. And dekho, this hoda up here is going to translate into this. Uda with its mouth open. The jaja will come down here. Oj means Shakti. Shakti. Bal. ठीक है? Power. Mit means Maryada. Maryada means a limit. How does Maryada mean a limit? Well, if I tell you that your data, your Maryada is this much, you can't go out of this circle. You have to eat a certain diet. You have to live a certain way. You can't go out of the circle. That means is that there's a limit to you now. So Maryada ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮਿੱਥ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਖਰੀ ਅਰਥ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਹੋਏਗੀ limit, a limitation. This ada here is Nikhedvachik. Nikhedvachik means it's just negating. Is negating the word, following it. So Maharaj, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਲ ਹੈ, it is a myth. It is limitless. That's what it means. ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੈ, it's limitless. ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਲ ਹੈ, ਉਹ limitless ਹੈ. That's what Amitoj means. Okay. So Maharaj, once someone gets the Prakash, gets to experience the Achala Murat, gets to experience that Nirgun Parmeshwar that's within this world, within this creation, over again Maharaj, Amitoj ho. There's no limit to your Shakti. Now what is Shakti? On dekho, in different traditions, the same philosophy is said differently. Within, for example, we say Nirgun and we say Sargun. Okay? We say Nirgun, we say Sargun. Someone might call Nirgun Qadr, and someone might call Sargun Kudrat. For example, like Guru Nanak said, Kudrat kavan kahan vichar. Qadr means Nirgun, Sargun means Kudrat. Someone might say Shakta, or someone might say Shiv, and then someone might say Shakti. Someone might call Nirgun Shiv, and someone might call Sargun Shakti. Another one. Someone might call Nirgun Bhagavant, and someone might call its Sargun form Bhagavati. Do you see where I'm going with this? Nirgun Sargun. Nirgun Sargun. Shiv Shakti. Qadr Kudrat. Bhagavant Bhagavati. Asal vich Bhagavati, Shakti, Kudrati. All these words just mean Sargun. They just mean that creation, that Nirgun personified into this physical matter creation that we're seeing around us. Does that make sense? Amitoj ke hijjai means that Maharaj Kudrat kavan kahan vichar. Amitoj means Kudrat kavan kahan vichar. Vare na jave ek baar. That's what Amitoj means. Amitoj means Maharaj ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਰਗੁਣ ਰੂਪ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. There's no end to your Shakti, there's no end to your Sargun form. Because there is no end to your Nirgun form. Sargun, Nirgun, Nirankar, Sun Samadhi, Aap. Sargun pi, Nirgun pi Aap, Sargun pi Ohi, Kalatar. ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਰਗੁਣ ਵੀ ਹੋ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਵੀ ਹੋ. ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਾਂ ਬ੍ਰਹਮ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ, ਸਰਗੁਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਇਆ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ. ਬ੍ਰਹਮ, ਮਾਇਆ, ਨਿਰਗੁਣ, ਸਰਗੁਣ, ਸ਼ਕਤਾ, ਸ਼ਕਤੀ, ਸ਼ਿਵ, ਸ਼ਕਤੀ, ਕਾਦਰ, ਕੁਦਰਤ, ਭਗਵੰਤ, ਭਗਵਤ. These are all the same names for the same philosophy. And they come bar in Gurbani. They come over and over again in Gurbani. And we don't understand this core concept. Therefore, we fall short when we come across words like Bhagoti. We fall short when we come across words like Maya. We fall short when we come across words like Shiv Shakti because we get confused. But the concept, the philosophy is the same thing as Nirgun Sargun. It is just that. It's just different terminologies, different vocabularies, because there's different communities in India, there's different cultures, there's different sampradas in India that follow the same path. They just have different vocabularies. For example, in our Sikh Panth, we have different communities, they have different ways of saying different things. A normal Gristi family might just say, Vyat chalne hain. A Amritali family might just say, Apan Nankar chalne hain. Within the Amrita community, you might have someone who says Bhai Sahib ji. You might have someone that says Gyani ji. You might have someone who says Katha ji. Everyone has their someone. You might have someone that says Baba ji. Everyone has a different way, vocabulary of saying the same thing. In that same way, Shakti, महाराज थोड़ी ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਉਹਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. ਕੁਦਰਤ ਕਵਨ ਕਹਾਂ ਵਿਚਾਰ. What char can I give to the Qudrat? Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Varya na java ek aur. I cannot be a sacrifice to it even once. Why? Because you can only be a sacrifice to something that has an end. But ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਅੰਤ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ. Because there's no end to your Shakti, because there's no end to your Shakta. There's no end to your Shakti because there is no end to you. You are the Shakti. Sargun, Nirgun pi aap, Sargun pi ohi. You are Nirgun, but you are also Sargun. So, Achal Murt Anapo Prakash Amit Toj Kahijja. That person who experiences the Achal Murt of Paramatma, that person who gets that Sutte Siddh Prakash, that person who gets that Prakash of Paramatma from their inside, behind their mind, behind their body, behind their Indra, behind their mind. When they get the Prakash of Paramatma from that's already sitting inside, Kahijja. What does he say? Amit Toj. Says Maharaj थोड़ी शक्ति का कोई अंत नहीं है. ਕੋਟ ਇੰਦਰ ਇੰਦਰਾਨ ਸ਼ਾਹੇ ਸ਼ਹਾਨ ਗਣਿਜੈ. ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੂਪ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕੋਟ ਇੰਦਰ ਇੰਦਰਾਨ. ਕੋਟ ਮੀਨਸ ਕਰੋੜ. ਕਰੋੜਾਂ ਇੰਦਰਾਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੈ. ਕਰੋੜਾਂ ਇੰਦਰਾਨਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਵੱਡਾ ਹੈ. What does Indra mean? Indra is known to be the devta, the raja of Swargs. Indra devta ਇੱਕ ਰਾਜਾ ਹੈ, ਸਵਰਗਾ ਦਾ ਰਾਜਾ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਜਾਂਦਾ. It's believed that he is the king of the heavenly realms. Maharaj, you say Indra Indran ho. When you say Indra Indran, the second Indran means, or that word Indran means you're the Indra of the Indras. Indra Indran means you're the Indra of the Indras. You are the Raja of the Rajas. In a simple way, let me put that way. Indra means Raja. You are Indran. You are Indra Indran. You are the Raja of the Raja. Not just one Indra, but Kroda hi Indra. That means that in many realms or dimensions, there are countless Indras. And you are the Raja of all them. You are the Swami, you are the Malik, you are the master of all those. Court Indra Indran Shah Shahan Ganija. Shah means a king of this world. So Indra meaning the king of the heavenly realms. Shah means a king in simple Farsi. Shah means a king. Tusi Shah Shahan ho. You are the Raja of the Raji of this world. Ganija means to be counted for. Like there's a word in Atma that we say, Hamri Ganat na Ganya Kai. Apna Birit Pashan. Ganat. Ganija means the same thing. Hamari Ganat na Ganya Kai. Ganat means to count, put a limit on. Like we said, Maryada, we root down Maryada, water down Maryada word to mean a limit. In that same way, Ganija means to put a limit on, to put a count on. To see, Kod Indra Indran, Shah Shahan Ganija means that you are the Shahs of the Shahs. You are the Raji of the Raji. You are the Indras of the Indri. You are the Malik of everything. This is one earth. ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦਾ ਅੰਤਰੀ ਭਾਵ ਵੀ ਸੁਣੋ. Now listen to the spiritual earth of this. Court Indra Indra. So Indras. So this ਸਰੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ we mentioned we just touched upon it. ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਗਿਆਨ ਇੰਦਰੀ ਤੇ ਕਰਮ ਇੰਦਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ. We have 5 ਗਿਆਨ ਇੰਦਰੀ, we have 5 karma indri. Okay? Gyan indriya are those that give us gyan about the outside world. That give us knowledge about the outside world. Karma indriya are those that help us make karmas in this world. For example, karma indriya will be our hands, our feet, our mouth, and then 2 down below. These 5 karams, hands 1, feet 2, our mouth 3, and then 2 down below, tucha and ling. These 5 karams, or these 5 indre, these 5 resources help us make karams in this world. Then you have 5 gyan indre that give us knowledge about the outside world. Our eyes let us to see, our ears let us to hear, our mouth lets us to speak and taste. That's 3. 4th is our skin, our chamadi. It lets us feel kuch cheez thanda, kuch cheez garam hai. It lets us feel is something rugged or smooth. And then lastly, of our nose, it lets us smell. Sugandhi, durgandhi. Akha, kan, rasana, nak, te chamadi. These are 5 gyan indri. What is the malik of all these indri? Can they man? The man is the malik of these indri. Why? Because if in the Andashkaram, in that formula of the Andashkaram, when you make a thought, and then with your buddhi you make a decision, with your intellect you make a decision, yes, I will act upon this thought. Then the thought is executed through your indri. Either through your gyan and through your karam indri. It's executed through your indri. Usually a combination of your gyan plus karam indri. So the raja of all your indri is your antashkaran, is your you can say your jivatma, is you can say your buddhi, you can say your intellect, you can say your mind. Paramatma is court Indra Indran. Sare Indra, Sari Indriyan, jinniyan hegiyan. Every single being out there that has Indri, he is the Indran of those Indri. He is the Raja of those Indri. ਭਾਵ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਮਾਲਕ ਕੌਣ ਹੈ? ਉਹ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ. What makes a thought come into our brain is Paramatma. Before the thought goes into our brain, before the thought is executed by our body, the thought first comes into Paramatma. ਕਿ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਿਮਾਗ ਹੈ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਦਿਮਾਗਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੋ. You are Malik of every single mind, Antashkaran, Jivatma there is in this world. Kod Indra Indran Shahi Shahan Ganija, you are the master of us. ਇੱਥੇ ਅੱਜ ਆਪਾਂ 2 ਪੰਕਤੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ. ਅਚਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਨਪੋ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਅਮਿਤ ਤੋਜ ਕਹਿਜੈ ਕੋਟ ਇੰਦਰ ਇੰਦਰਾਨ ਸਾਹੇ ਸਾਹਨ ਗਨਿਜੈ. What I would like to do now is kind of open up the floor for questions. So I would say the goal of each session will probably be going into 2 lines each. So beginning, because there's a lot of introduction as well. So what we'll do is next session, hopefully Maj Kirpal will end off the last 2 lines of this Chapaya Chand, and then we'll move forward into the next Chand, which is Pajang Paryat Chand. We'll talk about um we'll also be talking about the numbering system of Chapaya Chand at the end of next session as well. But now, for now, I would like to open up for questions and answers. Ji.
I do have one question.
हाँ जी भाई साहब जी.
If, like you're saying, that every thought before it comes into existence, it goes through Vaheguruji, it comes from Vaheguruji, then I've heard that even our thoughts create karma. If we think bad thoughts, that creates bad karma. How do we control those thoughts? I.e., in this example, calm about looking at certain people in certain ways, if those thoughts come from Vaheguruji themselves first.
जी, very good question जी भाई साहब जी. देखो, हुक्म अंदर सब को बाहर हुक्म ना कोई. हुक्म, everything is within hukum. Your thoughts coming into your brain is hukum. Those thoughts, whether when they become a karam is when you agree with them. When you think they are your own form, then that's when it becomes a karam. If you're just watching those thoughts, they're not your karams. Because let me go into the antash karam a little bit more. The jivatma or the subtle body, what's called. You in the subtle body, I said there's 4 parts, right? You have your man, your bud, your chit, hankar. Your man just produces thoughts. Its job is to produce the thoughts. It doesn't know if it's a good thought or it's a bad thought. It's just there to just produce the thought. Your chit then focuses on one thought and then starts contemplating it. The contemplation is done by the chit. That result of the contemplation is then decided by the buddhi, your mat, your intellect. And then that buddhi is executed by your hankar, which is the bridge between your subtle body and your physical body. The hankar is a bridge. So, for example, I want to the thought comes in my head to pick up a glass of water. My chit contemplates it. It produces a question: should I pick up the glass of water? My buddh, my mat says yes, I will. And the hankar acts, and my hand comes out and I pick up the glass of water. But that execution of that original thought only happened because the mat agreed to. What Guru Sahib gives us a gurmat. This is where gurmat comes into the picture. If you have the Guru's understanding, if you have the Guru's intellect, if you have the Guru's sikhya, you bring in vichar, you bring in consciousness, you bring awareness into Guru Sahib's sikhya, then that thought that was contemplated will never be executed if it doesn't align with gurmat. Does that make sense? The karam will never be made if it doesn't align with gurmat. If your mat is gurmat, if our mat is gurmat, sorry, we're all in the same picture. I'm not addressing this to anyone. This is including me as well. If our mat is in tuned with Guru Sahib, then it becomes gurmat. When it's in tuned with darkness, then it becomes durmat. When it's gurmat, then the karams will always be according to the Guru. Does that make sense, Bhai Savji?
Hanji, thank you.
Charti Kala ji. Both sona question ji. Okay, great. Question is ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਜੋ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀ ਸਰਗੁਣ ਸਰੂਪ ਹੈ ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਇਸ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਇਹੀ ਅਰਥ ਬਣਦਾ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਇਹੀ ਅਰਥ ਬਣਦਾ ਸੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ well to be honest ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ I gave an overlay definition that this is where the definition will start from sargun right ਜੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਣਾਂ ਦਾ ਸਮੇਤ ਹੋਏ what does sargun mean sargun means ਜੋ ਮਾਇਆ ਦੇ 3 ਗੁਣ ਨਾਲ ਸਮੇਤ ਹੋਏ। ਸਮੇਕ ਸੰਤ 3 ਗੁਣ ਮਾਇਆ ਦੇ, ਰਜੋਗੁਣ, ਤਮੋਗੁਣ, ਸਤੋਗੁਣ, ਜੋ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਗੁਣਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਬਣਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਰਗੁਣ। ਓਕੇ। ਤੇ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਮੀਨਸ ਵਿਦਆਊਟ, ਨਿਰ ਮੀਨਸ ਵਿਦਆਊਟ, ਨਿਖੇਧਵਾਚਕ ਆ ਗਿਆ, ਜੋ ਤਿੰਨਾਂ ਗੁਣਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਹੋਏ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ। ਸੋ ਮਾਇਆ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਭਗਉਤੀ ਕੀ ਹੈ? ਮਾਇਆ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਹੈ? ਛਾਇਆ। ਮਾਇਆ ਇਜ਼ ਦ ਛਾਇਆ ਆਫ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ। ਹੁਣ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਛਾਇਆ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਫਿਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਵੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ। ਹਾਂਜੀ। ਸੋ ਭਗਉਤੀ, ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਅਰਥ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਪਰ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੁੱਢ ਹੈ, ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕੇਂਦਰੀ ਅਸਥਾਨ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਇਹੀ ਹੈ ਸਰਗੁਣ। ਸਰਗੁਣ ਤੋਂ ਥੱਲੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਆਏਂਗੇ। ਭਾਵ ਕਿ ਆਪਾਂ ਹੁਣ ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਤੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਸੁਖਮਨੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਜੋ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਹੈ ਜਾਣ ਹੈ, ਉੱਥੇ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਹੋਇਆ। ਸੋ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਜੋ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਹੈ ਜਾਣ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ ਹੈ। ਭਗਵੰਤ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ, ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ, ਉਹ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣਦਾ। ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਭਗਵੰਤ ਦਾ ਅਨੁਭਵ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ ਉਹ ਫਿਰ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਬਣ ਗਿਆ, ਉੱਥੇ ਗੁਰਮੁਖ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। ਸ੍ਰੀ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਜੀ ਸਹਾਇ। ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਆਪਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖੀ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਆਪਾਂ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਵੀ ਲੈ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਫਿਰ, ਕਿ ਮੇਰੀ ਸਹਾਇਤਾ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਕਰੇ। ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਆਪਾਂ ਤਲਵਾਰ ਵੀ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਕਿਉਂ? ਸਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਹੁਣ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਧਿਆਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਾ ਸਕਦੇ। ਹੁਣ ਸਰਗੁਣ ਪਰਮੇਸ਼ਰ ਸਭ ਕੁਛ ਹੈ, ਮੇਰਾ ਫੋਨ ਵੀ ਹੈ, ਮੇਰੇ ਆਸੇ-ਪਾਸੇ ਜੋ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਪਈਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਸਰਗੁਣ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਹੁਣ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਧਿਆਨ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਜੁੜ ਸਕਦਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਧਿਆਨ ਜੋੜਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਧਿਆਨ ਜੋੜਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਕਾਗਰਤਾ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਇਕਾਗਰਤਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਵਿੱਚ। ਸ਼ਰਧਾ, ਭਾਵਨਾ, ਇਹ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਲਵਾਰ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਤਲਵਾਰ ਦੀ ਰਾਹੀਂ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੈ ਸਾਨੂੰ। ਤਲਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ the medium of the sword is used to give us ਸ਼ਰਧਾ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਹਮਾਰੇ ਪੀਰ, ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸ਼ਸਤਰ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਸਾਡੇ ਪੀਰ ਹੈ। ਪੀਰ ਫਾਰਸੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੀਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ, ਸੰਸਕ੍ਰਿਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਇਹ ਹਮਾਰੇ ਪੀਰ means that these are our guru's forms, the ਕਿਰਪਾਨ, the ਖੰਡਾ, ਤੁਬਕ ਔਰ ਤਲਵਾਰ। Guru Sahib has then channeled our surti into one form of sargun, which is the Kripan. ਲਈ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦੁਰਗ ਸਾਹਾ। ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਬਾਤ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਦੁਰਗ ਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੇ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਫੜੀ। ਉੱਥੇ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਅਰਥ ਹੋਇਆ ਤਲਵਾਰ, ਕਿਰਪਾਨ। ਉਹਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਫੜੀ। ਚਾਰੇ ਜੋ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਚਲਗ ਤੇਗ ਦੀ, ਕਿ ਤੇਗ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਚਾਰੇ ਯੁਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਟ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਚਾਰੇ ਯੁਗਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਪ੍ਰਸਿੱਧ ਹੈ। ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਤੇਗ ਦੀ ਹੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਹੈ। ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਦੀ ਹੀ ਉਸਤਤ ਹੈ। ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਦੀ ਹੀ ਸਾਖੀ ਹੈ। ਪ੍ਰਥਮੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜਦੋਂ ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਖੰਡਾ ਪ੍ਰਥਮੈ ਸਾਜ ਕੈ ਜਿਨ ਸਭ ਸਾਰ ਉਪਾਇਆ। ਉੱਥੇ ਖੰਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਪ੍ਰਥਮੇ ਪਰਮਾਤਮਾ ਨੇ ਖੰਡਾ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਜਿਆ, ਆਪਣੀ ਮਾਇਆ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਜੀ, ਆਪਣੀ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਾਈ। ਖੰਡਾ ਪ੍ਰਥਮੈ ਸਾਜ ਕੈ ਜਿਨ ਸਭ ਸਾਰ ਉਪਾਇਆ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਆ ਗਿਆ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੀ ਉਤਪਤੀ ਖੰਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਖੰਡਾ ਦੇਖੋ, ਖੰਡੇ ਤੇ ਦੋ ਧਾਰ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ। The khanda has two sides to it, two sharp sides to it. What is Maya? What is Bhagoti? What is Sargun? Sargun or Maya or Bhagoti is duality. Duality means two sides. Khanda Prathama Saj. First, the Maharaj made the Khanda. First, the Maharaj made its own Maya. It's made his own Bhagoti. It made its own Shakti. ਖੰਡਾ ਪ੍ਰਥਮੈ ਸਾਜ ਕੈ ਜਿਨ ਸਭ ਸਾਰ ਉਪਾਇਆ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਸਾਰਾ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦੀ ਉਤਪਤੀ ਹੋਈ। From there the whole ਸੰਸਾਰ was born. ਬ੍ਰਹਮਾ ਬਿਸ਼ਨ ਮਹੇਸ਼ ਸਾਜ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਦਾ ਖੇਲ ਰਚਾਏ ਬਣਾਇਆ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਫਿਰ ਬ੍ਰਹਮਾ ਜੀ ਰਜੋਗੁਣ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ, ਸ਼ਿਵ ਜੀ ਮਹੇਸ਼ ਤਮੋਗੁਣ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ, ਵਿਸ਼ਨੂੰ ਜੀ ਸਤੋਗੁਣ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ। ਉੱਥੋਂ ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਸਾਜ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਫਿਰ ਕੁਦਰਤੀ ਦੇ ਖੇਲ ਰਚਾਏ ਬਣਾਇਆ। ਸਾਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਤਮਾਸ਼ਾ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਰ ਦਾ, ਸੰਸਾਰ ਦਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉੱਥੋਂ ਖੰਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਭਗਉਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤੀ, ਸ਼ਕਤੀ ਤੋਂ ਪੈਦਾ ਕੀਤੀ। ਸਮਝੇ? ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਪੌੜੀ ਆ ਚੰਡੀ ਦੀ ਵਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦਾ ਸਾਰਾ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਭਗਉਤੀ ਦਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਹੀ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ। ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਭਗੌਤੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅਖਰੀ ਅਰਥ ਹੈ, it'll vary, it'll differ depending on the situation, but the root will always be sargun. ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਹੁਣ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਸੋ ਜਸਟ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼ ਆਫ ਦ ਪੁਆਇੰਟ, ਸਰਗੁਣ ਦੇ ਹਰ ਸਰੂਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਡਾ ਧਿਆਨ ਲਾਉਣਾ ਮੁਸ਼ਕਿਲ ਹੈ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸ਼ਰਧਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸ਼ਰਧਾ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਰਧਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਬਣਾਈ ਹੈ। They gave us the Sharada of the Kirpan. We can focus our attention to the Kirpan. That is a Sargun form of Paramatma for us. Another Sargun form of the Paramatma is Sad Sangat. Another Sargun form of Paramatma is Guru Granth Sahib Ji's Gurbani. So for for that reason, ये सब कुछ भगवती का रूप ही है। But but there's three different types of forms of bhagavati as well. So this is something, there's a topic for next time maybe, or when we come across it maybe in Chandigarh, if Guru Sahib ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਲੜੀ ਅੱਗੇ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਦਸਮ ਕਥਾ ਦੀ, one day hopefully ਆਪਾਂ ਚੰਡੀਗੜ੍ਹ ਵੀ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਪਾਂ ਰਜੋਗੁਣ ਸਤੋਗੁਣ ਤਮੋ ਦੇ ਵਿਸਥਾਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਥਾ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। We'll talk about what is the tamagun shakti of Paramatma, that is, and what is the satoguni. So there's three different forms of Maya as well. So the form of tamaguni shakti of Maya will be the Kirpan. The form of the satoguni shakti of Maya will be Gurbani. The form of the rajaguni shakti of Maya will be Satsangat. So that's why all three forms are Bhagavati, or all three forms are Sargun, because there's three different classifications. Because remember, Sargun, ਤਿੰਨ ਗੁਣਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਇਆ ਨਾਲ ਸਮੇਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਗੁਣ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਰਕੇ it goes into three different branches ਤੇ ਮਾਝ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ। ਹੋਪਫੁਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਰਦੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਸਮਝ ਪੈ ਜਾਏਗੀ ਜੀ। ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ। ਖਾਸ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਭਾਈ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ, ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਡਿਸਕੋਰਡ ਬਣਨਾ, ਜੋ ਇਹ ਜੋ ਇਹ ਪਲੇਟਫਾਰਮ ਦੇ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਦਾਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੁਧੂ ਕਥਾ।